Dr. Becerra,
Yes, sir.
how did you learn about sex?
I grew up in a neighborhood where there were a lot of little girls and one older girl. And her name was Debbie. And Debbie talked to us when we were playing jacks, when we were skipping rope. And she would talk to us about sex, and we would ask her questions. Most of the information was false because she didn't really know any more than we did, but that's how I first heard about it. In high school, I dated a boy who had been accused of statutory rape. He'd never been convicted, but he taught me about sex, gentleness, real love. We never had sex, but he didn't talk about it. He just showed me, and that's really how I got my first lesson on sex.
I found out about sex at an early age. I was in elementary. Well, I had a couple friends who were bad kids. So, but I had a couple friends show me, Playboys and just internet. Middle school and high school, I just had more friends really just talk about it more. And then it was also in the media. Just kind of, it's almost kind of natural in our generation, I would say. Not really through my parents. My parents waited until I was more like in high school to talk about it a little bit more. They just told me to, if I was to have sex, to just stay protected and stuff like that. So, but mostly through my friends.
When I was in 5th grade, I was required to take a health class, and it had pictures and there were different explanations of what each part was, things like that. And after I took that class, my mom also explained to me things that I wasn't sure about.
I recall my first encounter with sex, or realizing what sex was. I was watching a Gene Wilder movie when I was about 4 or 5. I'm not sure which one, but I clearly recall that he was interacting with this really beautiful woman. He was trying to get something out of her, and I didn't realize what that was until later at the end of the movie. He ends up sleeping with her, and that was when I first realized what physical contact was.
Sex. I found a book in my mother's nightstand drawer called Our Bodies Ourselves, and it was accompanied by another book called The G-Spot. And I was 7 years old, and I looked through the pages of Our Bodies Ourselves, and I saw this woman who had a mirror in front of her, and she was looking at her vagina in the mirror. And the whole description below said that you're supposed to explore yourself with a mirror and a best friend. Because this was the 70s, 70s book that had all this feminist stuff that was in there, right? So I asked Sarah Marshall, my best friend at the time, who was 7, to come and explore ourselves together. She got freaked out, so I just decided to do it on my own. And then so I kind of taught myself, and then my mom about 3 years later gave me a talk, the sex talk. And I had already been masturbating for a while, so I knew what was going on. And so she sat me down on the edge of her bed and she said, "Has anybody talked with you about sex before?" And I'm like, no. She didn't know that I had found her book, Our Bodies Ourselves. And I didn't even know where to start with the G-Spot book. I just left that shit there, right? And so she told me that when a man loves a woman, he puts his hot dog in her butt, right? And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't make sense because I was used to doing this and what the hot dog was like this, right? And so I was too afraid to ask because I thought maybe I'd gotten it wrong this whole time. And turns out I hadn't gotten it wrong. I was doing it right, but her analogy didn't work that well. And so she said that this is what happens when a man loves a woman, and your father and I love each other very much, and that this is how you were born. And that was my message.
Playboys. Probably when I was about 7, if you want an age. So, Playboys.
You just picked up magazines yourself? Or?
Yeah, you learn a lot of... If you actually read the Playboys, there's a lot of articles in there about sex.
Well, I found out about sex probably when I was about 8 years old from my friend's parents, actually, considering the fact that they were pretty open about their sexuality. They were willing to disclose what they wanted to get into and why we had to leave the house. That's exactly the first time I found out about sex.
When I was 6, my parents sat me down and taught me about the birds and the bees.
What is your ideal romantic date?
An ideal romantic date for me would have to be doing something with your partner that's not typical. So either going out and surfing, I don't know, playing a musical instrument, or teaching them how to play guitar. I don't know, something along those lines where you're kind of outside of your comfort zone, but you can laugh about it.
A nice dinner, a wonderful conversation, and going home to a warm bed.
Lunch or dinner, and maybe just a place to hang out after. Maybe some candles, some music, some light music like some jazz or some I'm trying to think of some pretty chill music, like some Barry White or that's my ideal romantic scene right there.
Have coffee with her, just sit down and talk to her, get to know her for about at least half an hour and see where we go from there. If it definitely goes my way, we'd end up having dinner, watching a movie, and probably just chilling at my place.
A romantic date to me is dinner at a nice place, then a stroll around campus along with ice cream. And then of course after the stroll around campus, watch a movie and just kind of enjoy each other's company.
I like doing something that involves intimacy. So whether that's physical intimacy or like emotional intimacy in some capacity, and that could be anything from, I don't know, like going out to dinner and then maybe going to a movie or going to a football game or going to play laser tag, because I really like laser tag and I think that laser tag is really fucking fun. Okay? Oh, can I swear?
Sure.
No, it doesn't matter. Whatever. And I just, I'd like to be myself, and I think that sometimes we don't put ourselves in situations where our best personality traits come out. And so something that's challenging and fun and different, I think, is usually nice, because then you let your guard down a little bit, and then that's when the intimacy you can kind of start to have with someone,
Doesn't have to have anything to do with a date. It could just be walking. Ideal would be the beach. Have something to do with the beach, but just a walk, just to walk up the mall, spend some time with somebody. That could be a date. That's an ideal date to me. It's spontaneous ones. When you make plans, then it's a date. But spontaneous dates that just kind of come together, those are the fun ones.
What would you tell future generations about sex?
Oh, how much time do we have in this interview?
A couple more minutes.
Okay, where do I start? Oh my God. Pleasure. I think pleasure is number one. People are so fixated on STDs and STIs and the bad things that are associated with sex, the heartbreak, the physical stuff, the emotional stuff, the consequences when relationships go wrong, or when people have sex and they're maybe not prepared to do so, or they're unprepared or don't take the necessary precautions to be prepared. So pleasure, I think, has just been missing from the script that we tell people about sex, that we tell kids about sex. And so I'd really like to have a more pleasure-centered approach. And also, we talk a lot about sex positivity. And sex positivity is really cool because there are these 5 components. The first is you're supposed to use humor when applicable, and I think we're too serious about sex. I think we need to laugh more. I think if you fart during sex, it's not the end of the world. I think if you make a sexy joke, it's not, you can laugh at it, right? So humor is really important. Also, using appropriate terms and labels. I was just overhearing a conversation where people were saying down there, and I just hate that. Why can't we say genitalia, penis, vagina, ass, anus, pussy, whatever? Using more correct terms and labels is going to help demystify some of kind of the stuff that we have surrounding sex. And then also, recognizing and understanding that we're different. So variation is really important. And I think that we're better with that now, especially with, people understanding diversity, whether it be sexual orientation or just people doing different relationships, non-marital cohabitation, something like that. And also creating a dialogue about sex. So talking, like what we're doing right now, is really important. So future generations, keep pleasure the focus, be sex positive, and enjoy yourselves. Be safe, sane, and consensual, practice safer sex as best you can, and just enjoy it, because sex is this amazing thing, dude. And I just think it's our life force in so many ways.
First off, I would say be safe if that's what you want to do. Also, know everything that you can about it, such as the consequences, different aspects of it. And lastly, just make sure it's with someone that you actually care about.
Just the way people interact with each other, people's sexual preferences and openness has definitely changed. Even physiologically and scientifically, due to hormones, chemicals, surgery, people are changing. But at the end of the day, one thing that I have learned that I think is important, no matter what relationship that you're going to have with somebody, whether it be professional, sexual, or family, the main important factor to and link to all of those is be a good friend, have a good friendship above all.
Be emotionally ready and just be safe.
We all have like a lot of years in our lives in the first place, so probably not to rush it too much in the beginning. It seems like the motives of most young people tend to be centered around, getting laid and going out and meeting women. And the truth is, you have so much time in your life that it shouldn't be your main focus for the time being right now while you're growing up. You should honestly focus on other things, and from there, once you know more about the world and are a little bit more wise, you can handle sex and knowing it, a little bit more responsibly.
To talk to people you trust and to resist believing in what you see on MTV videos and Miley Cyrus and stuff like that, because that's not what you want to know. That's not what's going to help you have a good marriage and a good sex life. It's not about that.
To learn about sex before they go ahead and do it, stay protected, and if anything, just stay abstinent. It's so easy nowadays, like I said, the media and sex is just a big thing now these days. So just staying protected and just learning more about it, and ultimately waiting till you're married to have sex.
What would you tell future generations about sex?
Be safe, have fun.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much.